Hi, it's Sarah, and I'm back with my next installment in my video series, Nutrition for Runners. Today I'm coming to you from the back of my Subaru in Denali State Park, and if you want to hear a little bit more about that, please tune in to the bonus video that I'll be posting as well. So today what I want to talk about is fat burning versus sugar burning. So when most people think about how runners eat, including runners themselves, they usually think about piles of pasta and that glorious carb load that's necessary before a race or a big workout. And for runners, this high carb way of eating seems to work for a while anyway. But there are some side effects to the habit that are pretty undesirable. So things like having a huge appetite, needing to snack and eat constantly, requiring a snack before a workout, getting irritable when you're hungry are sometimes considered to just be results of being a runner. You know, that just goes with the territory. And I've definitely seen those little quirks portrayed on Facebook memes as being just a little silly quality about being a runner. So if you can relate to any of those, then you have probably become a sugar burner. And that means that the way that you fuel your body and the activity that you do has trained your body to preferentially use sugar and simple carbohydrates as the main energy source. So when you think about fueling the energy that your body needs to do all of your activities, you should think about carbohydrates as kindling. So if that energy in your body is like a campfire, carbs are the kindling. So they're a really quick burst of energy, and they're also pretty short-lived. And to be able to continue getting that energy, that inner fire from carbohydrates, you need to keep refueling it over and over and over with that kindling. It needs constant replenishment. And that might be okay for a while, you know, for really short little stints of energy need. But in the long term, that can be a very detrimental situation for your body. So frequent high carb snacking can lead to unbalanced blood sugars through the day. Think about that blood sugar roller coaster, spiking after a snack and then dropping suddenly, and then requiring a snack to get your energy back up again. And that can have some pretty sad side effects like being sleepy, being irritable, having like this gnawing hunger, and as well as the long-term effects of possible insulin resistance, which can in turn lead to type 2 diabetes. And usually runners are living their lifestyle thinking that they are, you know, doing the most healthy thing for themselves. So having this awareness is really important and should be pretty valuable for you. And if you're also doing that high carb, constant snacking kind of way of life, you know, what happens when you're injured or your schedule changes so you can't really train the same as you have been? Well, your body is still going to demand that consistent flow of carbohydrates, and your weight's probably going to go up a little bit, and it'll make it that much harder to get back on track later. So then what's the alternative? Instead of burning primarily sugar, we can recondition our bodies to be primarily fat burners. And fat burners, or burning fat, sounds pretty good to everyone, I would think. So I have a little checklist for you. First, I have 3 signs that you are, in fact, a sugar burner. So considering, you know, your day-to-day lifestyle and how you feel, first of all, if you are hungry, really hungry in the morning when you wake up, you have that just starving to death feeling in your stomach, that's a big sign when you first wake up that you're probably a sugar burner. If you have to snack all day long, you know, if you're always feeling hungry, you always need a little something, you're always searching, that's another big sign that you're a sugar burner. And if you get hangry, if you know, you can't find that snack, if your meal gets pushed off a little bit and you get really mad and say things that you don't mean and snap at people that you don't want to, that is a really big sign that you are a sugar burner. So why would you want to be a fat burner? How does that help you out? So 4 benefits of fat burning are having consistent energy throughout the day. You know, it might not always be super high, you know, go, 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 but you don't have those dips and crashes and those spikes after a snack. So feeling pretty good throughout the entire day. The second benefit of fat burning is that you actually feel okay if you do miss a meal. You know, you can continue going further. You might feel a little bit hungry, but you're not getting hangry. It's not destroying your entire life. The third benefit of fat burning is that you can actually complete a fasted workout. You know, you can have not eaten for 4 hours, 5 hours, maybe 6 hours, and then you can go and get your workout in and have energy to complete it and not be completely destroyed afterwards. And then a fourth benefit of being a fat burner is that you're using yourself for fuel. Is that your body is actually able to access those fat stores, which everybody has, no matter how lean you are, and you can use that for your own energy. And the great benefit of that is that you end up being a little bit leaner. You actually can use yourself for energy. So I hope that it sounds pretty clear that being a fat burner is more desirable, but the thing is that you have to change your body. You have to shift over to being a fat burner. You can't just wake up in the morning and decide that today you're burning fat and you're not going to be burning primarily sugar anymore. So I have a few tips for you to start that transition over into fat burning. So the first thing that I recommend is doing a light workout before breakfast. So you get up first thing in the morning and do something like a yoga session. You go for a 30-minute brisk walk or a light jog, something like that. Can really help start your fat burning for the day. First thing in the morning is when your body is more primed to burn fat because you've gone all night without eating. And that might be a little uncomfortable at first, but eventually you'll shift over so that it feels really natural and you're able to get energy for that little workout. Another tip I have is to eat a protein breakfast. You know, stay away from the muffins, the bagels, you know, don't eat any cereal. If you have something more like a traditional breakfast, eggs and bacon or sausage, you could have, you know, leftovers from dinner. It doesn't have to even be breakfast food. Those are all great ways to really get that fat burning started, is to not, you know, shoot your body up with refined or processed carbohydrates first thing in the morning, telling it, hey, you've got plenty of sugar to eat. Don't worry about your fat, is what you're doing when you have carbohydrate breakfast. So a third way to transition over to fat burning is to really focus on eliminating processed carbohydrates and added refined sugars from your diet altogether. Really start working on incorporating a whole foods, nutrient-dense, properly prepared diet overall is going to be extremely helpful. Number 4 way to transition is to just start skipping dessert. You know, you don't have to have dessert, and it absolutely shouldn't be, you know, your traditional 4th meal of the day. If you need a little something before bed, you know, you don't think you can make it, find some kind of, you know, alternative. Have, you know, a nut butter or something like that. A little spoonful, but try to avoid any of those desserts that have refined sugars or processed carbohydrates before bed, because that will really mess up your blood sugar handling for the night. And then number 5 overall is just to increase the fat in your diet. And I mean specifically the good fats in your diet. So anything that comes in a box or label that says hydrogenated fats, throw it away. Do not eat any kind of hydrogenated fats. When I'm saying good fats, I'm meaning well prepared animal fats. So that could even be lard or tallow, as long as they're, you know, organic, pastured, high quality. Butter, coconut oil, and then other fats that you can use might be olive oil, flax oil, but those shouldn't be heated. Those should be used like as salad dressings or toppings on top of veggies after they've been cooked. So if you do these 5 steps, you'll probably see a lot of difference in your energy, but I do have some warnings that go along with it. First of all, there is a transition time. If you jump right into these and expect to change right away, you're probably going to end up a little bit disappointed, because it does take some time, and sometimes that transition can be a little painful for some people. You could go through a week or 2 or 3 where your energy is just tanked. You have nothing. And that is just a really good sign that you indeed have been a sugar burner and your body is struggling to shift over to fat burning, but you will get there eventually. And I would say for most people, it's not even more than a week, but it's extremely individual from person to person, depending on many things in your individual metabolism as well. And if that sounds pretty overwhelming, there are a lot of different programs out there that can give you a ton of support to be able to make that transition. My personal favorite is the 21-Day Sugar Detox by Diane Sanfilippo. There are certified coaches that you can find online for that particular program. In fact, I'm one of them, so shameless plug there. But that program can be so helpful in transitioning over to fat burning. It's extremely structured. You won't have any questions about what you should be doing because the program is completely set up for your success. And if you get a coach, that's even more support for your success and eventual outcome on the other side as a successful fat burner. If you plan to go it alone, though, I have a couple of food substitutions that you might want to incorporate. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, a lot of runners, think of pasta. That's where your carbs are coming from. Pasta is super refined. It's one of those blood sugar spiking foods, and a lot of people are sensitive to gluten as well. So I think overall it's a good food to just leave out. So what do you have instead? Spaghetti squash. Spaghetti squash is awesome. It tastes great with so many different kinds of sauces on them. And it's actually nutrient dense. It has vitamins in it. It still has carbohydrates, but it's lower carb and will give you that slower release of glucose into your bloodstream. Another kind of traditional thinking runner food might be a bagel with cream cheese. I would swap that out for a sweet potato with some high quality butter. During runs, if you're doing longer races, you might be pounding the goos or the Cliff Blocks or whatever it is. And those again they're just really high in sugar. And another problem is that they're also very high in fructose in particular, as well as if you're doing snacks with like dates or something like that, really high in fructose. Fructose is a different kind of sugar than glucose, which is the sugar that your cells use for energy. Fructose has to be processed by your liver to become glucose so that your cells can use it. So there's a lot of more pressure on your liver and a lot more time to be able to get energy out of it. So having more glucose-based snacks is going to be a lot more helpful for you. So instead of the goos, I really like the Generation UCAN Super Starch. It's a powder that you put in your drink and is the slow release, just pure glucose source. So you won't have any spikes. It kind of seeps into your system really slowly, and it's really great for races or really long training runs. And then sports drinks, so Gatorade, Powerade, again, really high in sugar, and they're actually way more concentrated than what you need, so they can lead to a lot of gastrointestinal distress as well. So I recommend just swapping those out for purified water with some sea salt. So that'll help you get hydrated. It will get you all of your electrolytes so you can actually use the water, and the water's allocated properly throughout your body. And it doesn't get you all those sugars and then the artificial dyes and everything that are also involved in those. So I hope this gives you a good overview of how to transition from being a sugar burner to a fat burner and why you would want to do that. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. And until I see you next time, have a great run.